You've been warned before. About the economy. About your health. About your relationships. About your future. And like most people, you let it slide with quiet confidence that things would somehow work out. But what if that reflex, the one whispering danger isn't real until it's inches from your face, is the same mechanism that wrecks lives, topples companies, and drags entire civilizations to their knees? Stay with this video, and you'll see the single psychological glitch that reveals why even the brightest people step into the same trap, again and again in every crisis we face today. We're talking about denial. Not as a vague idea, not as an insult, but as a deeply wired survival strategy that turns against you when the world changes faster than your brain can process. Because denial isn't just stubbornness. It's not simply pretending something bad isn't happening. Denial is your mind's automatic airbag, deploying to protect you from emotional impact. But just like a faulty airbag, it can fire at the wrong time, in the wrong situation, leaving you blind to the exact danger you most need to see. This matters now more than ever. We live in a world filled with alarms, economic bubbles, health risks, technological disruptions, personal red flags in relationships and careers. Warnings are everywhere, but warnings only work if someone listens. The uncomfortable truth is that most people don't. They wait, they delay, they minimize, they say, "It won't happen to me." And yet for millions every year it does. So in this video, you're not just learning why people ignore warnings. You're learning how this psychological trap affects your money, your safety, your relationships, and the trajectory of your entire life. By the end, you'll understand the 4 hidden mechanisms that keep people stuck in denial, the real reason humans misread danger until it's too late, and the single mindset shift that instantly reduces your risk of sleepwalking into disaster. And if you stay until the final minutes, you'll discover the silent warning signal your brain notices before you do. One that can change how you make every major decision in your life. But here's where the story gets strange. Denial doesn't usually start with fear. It starts with comfort. Think of the Titanic. The warnings came early. Floating ice, fog, lower temperatures than expected. Crew members saw evidence with their own eyes. But the ship was enormous, luxurious, and advertised as unsinkable. When comfort rises, awareness drops. People believe what feels good, not what is true. And you've probably done the same. Think about any moment in life when you sensed something was wrong. A job that felt unstable, a relationship heading toward conflict, a financial habit that wasn't sustainable, and instead of acting, you waited. Because waiting feels easier than confronting reality. But here's what nobody tells you. That delay is the mechanism of denial. A famous example comes from a small town situated near a volcano that had been dormant for centuries. Scientists warned the residents months ahead. Activity was building, pressure was rising, evacuation should begin soon. But the locals didn't leave. They continued working, cooking, socializing, living their routines. They said, "It will settle. It always settles." Until one morning it didn't. When the eruption hit, it was already too late to escape. This tragedy wasn't caused by lack of information. It was caused by the psychology of denial. People cling to the familiar because the unfamiliar feels like a threat, even when the familiar is what's killing them. This is the dangerous part. Your brain interprets uncertainty as more frightening than a confirmed threat. A threat you can manage. Uncertainty you can't. So when faced with a warning, the brain often chooses the illusion of safety over the discomfort of action. It's the mental equivalent of covering your eyes and hoping the tiger disappears. What does this mean for you? It means your instincts are outdated. Your brain evolved for a world where threats were immediate, visible, and physical. But modern threats, financial instability, digital addiction, toxic relationships, health risks, technological disruption, move slowly, quietly, invisibly. They unfold over months or years. And because there is no sudden jolt, no immediate pain, no roar in the bushes, your mind incorrectly assumes everything is fine. But here's what nobody tells you. Denial is not passive. It is active self-protection. It edits your reality in real time. It filters out evidence that contradicts your comfort. That's why people stay in bad jobs for years, refusing to look at the warning signs. That's why entire families ignore medical symptoms that later turn into emergencies. That's why investors miss bubbles forming right in front of them. The brain resists any information that forces painful change. Let me show you a clear example. Imagine a man who begins noticing small signs that his business is weakening. Slower sales, fewer returning customers, rising costs. These signals appear quietly, almost politely. He tells himself it's temporary, seasonal, a random fluctuation. He avoids checking the full financial breakdown because deep down he fears what he might find. So he waits. 6 months later, he's drowning in debt. His denial didn't protect him. It delayed his response until recovery became nearly impossible. This story repeats itself across millions of lives every year. And here's the turning point. Denial thrives on isolation. When you sit alone with your fears without external feedback, your brain chooses the narrative that feels safest, not the one that is accurate. That's why people hide worrying symptoms, financial problems, addictions, or relationship issues. If they don't speak it aloud, they don't have to confront it. Denial is silence, and silence is dangerous. But let's go deeper. There are 4 psychological systems that make denial so powerful. First is cognitive dissonance. The mental discomfort you feel when new information clashes with what you already believe. To reduce discomfort, your brain rejects the new information. Second is optimism bias. The belief that bad things happen to other people, not you. It's comforting but deadly. Third is normalcy bias. Your assumption that life will continue tomorrow exactly as it did yesterday. And fourth is emotional overload. When the brain shuts down uncomfortable truths because it cannot handle the emotional weight. Think about how these 4 systems shape your decisions every day. When the doctor tells someone to change their diet, but they don't. When a friend warns you that the person you're dating has red flags, but you stay anyway. When a market analyst tells investors a bubble is forming, but nobody sells. When a company gets early reports of internal corruption, but executives call it exaggeration. These are not foolish people. They are normal people caught in the gravity field of denial. And here's where things take a darker turn. Denial isn't just individual, it's collective. Entire societies fall into synchronized denial when the truth threatens the social order. Governments downplay early signs of crisis to avoid panic. Corporations hide vulnerabilities to maintain reputation. Communities ignore danger because acknowledging it would require lifestyle changes they aren't ready to make. This creates a delayed reaction at the scale of millions, where warning signs are visible for years before anyone acts. But what happens when people finally snap out of denial? Often, it's not because they willingly face the truth. It's because reality becomes impossible to ignore. The relationship collapses. The market crashes. The illness becomes severe. The job disappears. The volcano erupts. At some point, the discomfort of denial becomes greater than the discomfort of accepting reality. But by then, the damage is already unfolding. Here's the part that should make you pause. Denial always ends. It just ends at different times for different people. For some, it ends early enough to change their future. For others, it ends at the exact moment consequences become unavoidable. Every choice you delay pushes you closer to the second category. So what can you do? How do you override a psychological mechanism that is woven into the structure of your brain? It starts with recognizing the pattern. Denial always follows the same path. First doubt, then minimization, then rationalization, then avoidance, then crisis. If you can catch yourself at the minimization stage when you start saying, "It's not a big deal," you can interrupt the entire chain. But here's what nobody tells you. The most reliable early warning system isn't logic, it's emotion. Your body registers danger before your mind admits it. That uneasy feeling you ignore, the sudden tension, the subtle dread, the nagging suspicion. Those signals appear before conscious denial kicks in. Your subconscious mind is not fooled. It senses pattern changes, inconsistencies, and microthreats long before you consciously acknowledge them. But the turning point comes when you stop treating discomfort as the enemy. Denial thrives in comfort. Awareness grows in discomfort. The moment you start leaning into uncomfortable truths, looking at your finances honestly, acknowledging relationship problems early, getting the medical test you've been avoiding, preparing for professional disruption, you gain control. You shift from reacting to anticipating. And there's a deeper truth here. People don't fear danger. They fear the loss of identity that comes from accepting danger. If you admit your industry is collapsing, you may need to reinvent your career. If you admit your relationship is failing, you may need to rebuild your life. If you admit your health is declining, you may need to change your habits radically. Denial protects identity, not safety. But here's where the psychology flips. Once you accept truth, even painful truth, your mind becomes stronger, sharper, faster. You see patterns you couldn't see before. You make decisions faster. Your stress decreases because you're no longer fighting reality. You become the kind of person who navigates uncertainty with clarity while others fall into panic. This is the climax. Denial is the silent force behind most of life's preventable disasters. This is why people stay too long, react too late, assume too much, prepare too little. It's the perfect storm of comfort, fear, optimism, and emotional overload. And once you understand this, you begin to see how many of your own life choices have been shaped not by knowledge, but by avoidance. But there's hope. The moment you decide to see clearly, even when it hurts, you flip your psychological script. Instead of waiting for crisis, you act ahead of time. Instead of being shocked by outcomes, you anticipate them. Instead of being controlled by denial, you rise above it. So let me close the loop. The real reason most people ignore every warning until it's too late is not stupidity, laziness, or carelessness. It's biology, evolution, emotional self-protection. But biology is not destiny. You can override it. You can teach your mind to notice the whispers before they become screams. If this opened your eyes, stay with us. There are more truths, more patterns, more invisible forces shaping your life, and understanding them changes everything. And if you want to keep seeing the world with clarity instead of illusion, subscribe, like, and share this with someone who might be living in denial right now. Because awareness isn't just knowledge. It's survival.